Welcome back to Build Breakdown. About a month ago, we started the process of making the front suspension for the all-wheel drive Mustang. Today, we're expanding on that. Last time, you guys saw me make this piece. This is actually a brand new one out of a stronger filament. Don't think it's gonna hold the weight of the car. That's pretty out of the realm of what this plastic can do. But now, we have this piece and this whole contraption, which I'll show you what it does in a second. So what this contraption is actually, it's just a mounting point for the actual rocker pivot point that will push on the coilover. If you'll notice, it looks very similar to that piece. And it's basically the same thing. It's just the inverse of where that hole's taken out in the middle. It's the same size as that. That just allows for whatever rocker piece we make, it'll be this width. That's what the width it has to be. So this width is also this width, which is also this width, which means we don't have to make a fully solid piece. We can just have two separate rocker pieces made exactly the same, and they'll just bolt together and be the right width based off of this. Now, these crazy metal bars sticking off of it is a template for the rocker piece we're gonna make. So obviously you have your pivot point down here, which we'll probably put some kind of bearing in there. I'll design that later. But what we can do is we can take these and set the coilover where we kind of want it, or where it just generally might end up, and play with these with different angles, but also different lengths. So from where this is mounted, the pickup point coming off the control arm has to pick up somewhere. So we can change that, move it in, move it out. That'll change how long this needs to be, because you want whatever this length ends up being, this pivot point to where it picks up off of the control arm, you want it to be about half to a third the size of this, or this needs to be 2 to 3 times the length of this. So if we have this, 4 or 5 holes out, that means this needs to be, let's say it's 5, needs to be 10 to 15 holes out. So it gives us a good guide to just the distances and the geometry that we need for this rocker piece. There is gonna be a whole piece we make down here which will actually hold the pivot point. That's gonna be designed in a later one. I already have a design for it, it's just not done yet. So we don't really need that today. We just need kind of this area. We will have to cut the shock tower out, which is just more cutting, so that's fun. We're just gonna do it on this side for now. We'll figure out where the mounting point for the coilover needs to be. We'll mount the other piece somewhere in here, so it'll stick out that way, mounting point here, and then it'll go up and push on the coilover. Again, that's why we can play with the angles, because you don't want it to be flat just like that, because the suspension needs to unload. So you really want it kind of sitting up like that, which then you need to play with the angle of how it's gonna look with that. Then what I can do is I can lock it in place, measure it, and then take a design, make a design off of it with that exact angle, those exact lengths. I can re-engineer a car, but I can't cut a hole perfectly square. That's pretty cool. Realistically, I think we want that as low as possible, because no, that's wrong. I need to measure the other side first, because that'll determine where this needs to be, because again, it needs to be 2 to 3 times as far away from the pivot point. And that, I can't control that, because it has to go out far enough to hit the pickup point on the control arm. Have the pivot point not all the way over. I could probably get another 1/2 inch or so, but that gives us some room to, I kind of want to make a 3D printed cover around those welds, because they don't look the best. Or I can just have some cover them up, but that gives us enough room so it's not just butted up right against the shock tower. And funny enough, the control arm sits so far forward on here that they don't really line up. I mean, it mostly lines up, but we're off center. That will just have to be solved with whatever mount we do on the bottom, so I'll have to design that to account for the offset. And then we'll have spherical bearings. We'll have spherical bearings for the push rod that connects to this, similar to the other spherical bearings that you've seen that I showed off to mount the diff, where it's the 2 spherical bearings and then the turnbuckle piece in the middle. So we may be able to solve that offset by fixing this piece down here, the design for it, to have it just come up and have the mounting point go over. That's gonna get a little wonky with the strength of that piece, because the strength is supposed to go straight down into the control arm. So if we have it offset, that piece might be a problem. So what we might be able to do, depending on how we make it, is you have the upper side of the rocker piece, it'll all be one piece, but you have from the pivot point to the control arm will be inline. And then from here to, you know, maybe just the other side of the firewall or the shock tower, it's in line. And then you just offset it like 2 inches coming that way. So whatever piece we get it cut out of, if it's like a steel plate, we'll just do it all in one line and then have to bend it to get that offset. Or if we CNC it, that would be pretty easy because the machine will just cut it out like that. So, well, I measured the distance from the pivot point to the control arm pickup, and I measured 12 of these holes. I don't know the spacing, probably an inch, which means we have to be 24 to 36 holes on this side. I don't even have that many available to us. We've got to 22, and this is what it looks like. It pushed the coilover past center line, it's standing straight up, not what we want. So I think what's gonna happen, I think we're gonna have to move the pivot outside into here. But what that does is that puts us in the 7 range for this one, which means the other side will have to go to 14. This piece also fits pretty perfect in this area. I mean, we'll have some clearance issues with the actual rocker piece, but based on the size I made it, and I can actually shrink it down a little bit, it fits perfectly over top of the upper control arm mount. So by the time you move in a little bit for where the holes are mounted, I think we'll have plenty of clearance up underneath. And then again, the bolt heads will actually act as spacers, and we can actually add some more to get rid of that gap up under the frame rail. This is kind of what it looks like now that I have the mounting piece on the other side of the shock tower. You guys can't see it, but I'm holding it with my hand just so it stays in place. And that gives it a really, really good angle. But there's a million different ways to do the same thing. So I'm sure we'll come up with something, but this is definitely a big step. Something I've definitely been putting off doing for a while. The videos have been slow for other reasons, like you saw the last time, 3D printers breaking, stuff just going wrong. But definitely just been procrastinating doing this because I thought it would be a lot harder. That's pretty much all I have for you today. Again, this is just a build breakdown showing some of the details of how we figure this stuff out. I apologize that we don't have a full rocker piece to show you or even the control arm piece to show you. They're still in development, obviously. We just found that the bottom piece won't really work. So we need to retake some measurements for that, figure out the offset, figure out what we're doing with the push rods, spherical bearings, and figuring out how to make all that work. But we will definitely be back with another 1 or 2 videos with this, depending on when I get both of those pieces done. We may be able to get all of it done and show it in one video. If not, we'll break it up. So, but hopefully you guys are liking these build breakdowns. So more videos, you guys probably won't complain. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. The next video you guys will see will hopefully be a more main video, putting the transmission and engine in the car so we can figure out where the front diff goes.